Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. With me here is Chima Mmeje, content strategist at Zenith Copy and a well-renowned SEO content thought leader. We will discuss making your content spiderweb convert with SEO content clusters. I know that's a mouthful, but stay with me here. Let's get into it. Chima, how are you doing?
It's nice to meet you. That's really nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's an honor to have you here and doing this. So, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself,
Yeah,
your
sure,
background, your role?
sure,
Yeah.
sure. So, my name is Chima Mmeje. I am a content strategist. I primarily work with B2B SaaS companies,
Okay.
predominantly in the US. Um, I think that is the bulk of my background. I've been doing this since 2017. Started out in-house working agency side, and then went freelance in 2019, and fully niched down in SaaS in 2020 during the pandemic. So that is the 30 seconds background story.
30 seconds background story. Okay, I will ask you something else about your
Yeah,
background
sure,
here.
sure.
Since you are in B2B SaaS, you're probably
Mm-hmm.
aware of the emerging trend of demand generation content.
I don't think it
And
has. I don't think it's an emerging trend. It has always been there.
Okay, well, you're right. It has always been there. There are books written by Robert Rose, Joe Polizzi on the killer marketing back in 2017, mentioning these concepts.
Yeah.
I have heard about them back in the early days of the social media marketing podcast out
Mm-hmm.
there on the very first episode. But we have other influencers like Chris Walker really honing on why it's so important to talk about to drive demand generation content, no click content, and all these other things, and focus less on lead generation. In fact, he's calling for an outright reduction of lead generation campaigns versus demand generation campaigns. Many of these advocates, or of course, maybe including yourself, do not really look at the channels. There isn't much problem about the channels. The problem is really about the content and how that connects to the prospect or the consumers or what have you. So what are some of the, I guess, from an SEO perspective or content perspective, what are some of your maybe 2 or 3 tips for marketers who want to imbibe this mindset and use content to support revenue engines, if I'll put it that way?
So I think you're asking about. Okay, I think the first thing is to think in terms of clusters. If you think of your content in terms of clusters, then you don't have silos. That's the first thing. You
Okay.
don't create content for the sake of it. You are creating content that fits in somewhere in the buyer's journey. You're creating content that fits in somewhere in your content and business goals. You're creating content that is going to serve a purpose, not just today, but for a very long time. So at the base of it,
Sustainability. Hmm.
yes, I would at the base of it, I would say from the foundation, think of your content in clusters, because if you decide to do it later on when you already have a ton of content, then it becomes more difficult trying to decide what content gets to stay inside, which clusters do you put them in, what do you need to update, what do you need to combine, but it's just easier if from the foundation you're thinking of your content in clusters, because even demand generation content, those content at the
Hmm.
middle and bottom of the funnel can also fit
Hmm.
into every single cluster, because at the end of it, every content you are creating is around a service or solution that you offer, and
Yeah.
that solution is based on something that people are searching for. So if people are searching for it, that makes it a keyword, that makes it a topic, that makes it a cluster, that makes it something that a type of content can fit into. So
Hmm.
I feel like that is the base step. Think in
Of it.
terms of clusters.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like, applying clusters to most of this also helps because you've got segments, you've got funnels, we've got pipeline, and then by just connecting these to different clusters, you can better manage your content strategy, and which is sort of what we're about to get into now.
Mm.
You're right to saying it's not new. HubSpot calls it the next evolution of SEO, but they said this long ago already. But they also invented another term called pillar content. My question is this, and I honestly didn't know or don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is it different? Is pillar content different from content clusters,
Mm-hmm.
or do they work together? How does that work?
Okay, so first of all, you are right when you say that HubSpot really popularized pillars and clusters. They've been Look, those guys have been doing this since day one, and many
Mm,
people, even the biggest names, have learned from HubSpot on how to do content. So you're right about that. But here's where it is: pillar content and content clusters are one and the same. So
okay.
you have the pillar content. If you have to think about the cluster as a spider web. If you think about the
Yes.
spider web, in the middle of the spider web, you have the hub, the big thing there where you see the spider sitting or whatever it is the spiders do. And then you have those things that looks like tentacles just branching out. So the thing in the
Mhm.
middle is the hub that joins everything together. If you think about it now, back to the pillar cluster approach, that pillar content is the broad topic, is the thing that offers like a comprehensive overview of the subject or of the topic.
Got it. Yeah.
In most scenarios, you don't even get to rank for your pillar page because it's so competitive. It's usually like what is or how to keyword is a big
Mm.
broad keyword that has the highest search volume. That is the one you make your pillar content. So it's
The
still
ultimate
within,
guide, for example.
yes, thank you. It's still within the cluster, but it's more like a resource page that you go to learn more about that topic. So you would have something like what is a CRM? You have something like CRM as a topic. The pillar page would now be what is a CRM. Now inside that page, they would discuss a few things, but what they would really be doing is giving you links to learn more about CRM. They could give you links to benefits of a CRM, who needs a CRM, how
CRM
to
integrations.
exactly, CRM integration, how to use CRM for customer service, using CRM for sales, using CRM for lead generations, all the different use cases. And then as you click
Mm.
one link, then you start going deeper, deeper, deeper. It is like a rabbit hole. So the both of
Yeah.
them are linked together. The pillar is more like the broader resource page, and then the cluster content itself, each one is very, very niche. It's talking about one thing and one thing only. And then they pass link juice to each other from the pillar to the clusters, and then from the cluster to the pillar. The goal is to create this interconnected hub of content that provides comprehensive coverage of the topic and all of them linking together, but working as a whole
Yeah.
to provide that information for the user wherever they are in their journey, be it at the top, middle, bottom, or even post purchase.
Mm, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And before I ask you, well, the next question here, I would like you to dive a little bit deeper
Mm,
into like buyer journeys. And I see buyer journeys as, there's an Harvard publication that I saw and that sort of stuck to my head like 5 years ago that talks about targeting audiences is not necessarily about like demographics or psychographics or stuff like that. It's about their job to be done, which is where sometimes SEO, is very successful because people literally type their job that needs to be done on Google. I need this, how to do this, whatever that keyword is, right?
mm,
But even within that is what some marketers call share of life, which
mm,
in B2B could also be called buyer journeys. And buyer journeys in this case includes like a lifetime value churns, and I come back and I churn again, and so on and so forth. It happens in SaaS a lot. So how do you, from a playbook perspective, how do you advise marketers who are trying to, work with businesses on how to see this whole content cluster thing with regards to buyer journeys, and how, again, it is different from different companies, okay? But I'm wondering if you've got like any general playbook on how the questions that businesses should be asking or when coming up with these ideas for content clusters. I'll give you a good leading example. It's probably not the answer, but should I develop, again, back to the Spider-Man or the spider guy? Should I create spiders based on product lines? Or should I create spiders based on a specific brand purpose I'm pursuing? Or how do I create the spider that will now have this spider web? How can you help us think about these pillars?
You've asked like five questions in one.
Yes, I know.
So I'll start from the first one. The first thing is that psychographics is actually very important
Okay.
because knowing where the user is not enough. You need to the more information you have about the user, the more you can tailor the content to focus on the buyer's problem.
Mm.
So if you're trying to map your clusters based on the user's journey, you have the awareness stage where they are just learning about a problem. So they'll be typing in something like, let's say they are trying to get a CRM. They'll be typing in something like, what is a CRM? How to use
Mm.
a CRM? What's the benefit
Mm.
of a CRM? They'll be
Mm.
looking for informational content, ebooks, webinars, anything that introduces the topic. So
Podcast.
yes, your job is to serve that information in a easy to understand format
Mm.
and in a way that establishes you as a trusted resource so that they can continue that journey with you. And then as they now go deeper, they're now at the consideration stage. Maybe they now understand, okay,
Mm.
I know what the CRM is. I'm ready to look at options. And then they start
Mhm.
comparing. They compare maybe HubSpot versus Salesforce. Then they now say, oh, okay, I need something that has more sales feature. Maybe they decide to go with Salesforce. So as they are comparing, they're looking for specific features. Then you can now start um, bringing out a solution that is tied to a future. For
Mm.
example, sales CRM, sales CRM. You can talk about why would someone need a sales CRM? Is it for sales team? Is it for which teams? You can talk about what they'll be getting, what they should be looking for when they are trying to purchase a sales CRM. You can talk about
Got it.
yes, all those kind of things. So as they are now looking at that, they are saying, okay, this is the consideration stage now. So they are looking at options, but they are looking at specific features. So the specific features they're looking for, you want to make sure that you know it. You don't know it if you don't know the psychographics. Is that psychographics that give you that information? So at every
Yeah.
stage, you're using that psychographic data to make sure that the content you're creating is personalized to the problem that the audience faces. So the kind of content that you'll be providing at that consideration stage is comparison content, competitor pages, videos, demos, expert guides, anything that helps
Yeah.
them compare side by side and then help them make a decision. And then that brings them down to that final stage where they're looking at maybe best this or best that, or they're looking for testimonials, anything that shows that you are a trusted resource and that
And
your
they can
product,
go ahead.
yes, your product does what it says it does around that solution that they're looking to solve. So the important thing is that now that you've now mapped that journey, it's not even enough to map the journey. How do you now fit your content into that journey that you've mapped? You might have existing content that you're not even aware of. So it's always best to start with a content audit and say, okay, what do we already have around this topic? What do we need to delete? What do we need to pull together? What do we need to update? And then use that as the base of the cluster. Then you now
Mm.
have to identify your potential pillar content. Usually it's the keyword that has the biggest search volume. That one is easy.
Yeah.
Now you now have to start the next stage, which is grouping the content to make sure that you don't cannibalize it. Basically, what that means is that you want to make sure that no two content pieces are going after the same keyword. So you want to avoid keyword cannibalization, and you do that
Mm.
by grouping all the subsections correctly. So as you group all of these subsections, you group by intent. This keyword,
Mm.
if I search for this keyword and I search for this keyword, is it the same type of content pieces that are coming up on SAP?
Mm.
That tells you that if you're seeing the same type of content pieces on search result pages, it tells you that, okay, then I only need to create one piece of content to cover these two or these three or these four, these five keywords, because
Yeah.
when I type in all of these keywords, it's the same content that is coming out in search results. Then you think about internal linking. How do you create a strong internal linking strategy that guides the reader? It acts like a navigation, guiding the reader from this
Yeah.
content to this content to this content deeper into your cluster. How do you fill existing gaps based on what you've seen in your content audit and what you've seen that is missing in SEP and in competitors? And then how do you continue that learning journey beyond even purchase? Because it's very important to keep educating to maintain that
Mhm.
culture of providing fresh information for the user so that they feel like you are the person who is a trusted resource and you are ranking not just on SEO pages but in their mind as the authority for that topic. So it's basically adopting this holistic approach to doing the research, to doing the audits, to mapping the keywords to the buyer's journey, to filling the gaps, and but most importantly, to making sure that you are top of mind for the user with
Yeah.
this comprehensive cluster that you have created that covers every stage of that journey.
Yeah. And I've got three words for you,
Mhm.
Chima. Marketing is not easy.
Yes, I agree.
So if you're
It's
listening right
constantly
now,
evolving.
I was just processing everything like, oh my God. And I'll give you an instance. Maybe you can give us a way out.
Mm,
Um, you know, some people, some enterprises or some mid-sized business, even small businesses, they've just been writing content. No structure, nothing.
agreed.
And I feel you mentioned something about audit. I feel that people should, even in retrospect, structure as much content that they've written or made into pillars or into clusters, just
Agreed.
to
Agreed. That's
just
why I
to
said that's why
benefit.
I said think in clusters, because if you're just writing content for the sake to fill up your blog, you just want to give volume, you just want to make sure that you're meeting some calendar that you've created, then you're just creating content for the sake of it. And we're in the age of AI now. You can do that with
Yeah,
ChatGPT, with Jasper, with any of these tools that are popping out every day. But
yeah,
if you
yeah.
have a structure to the way you create the content, you've done the audit to see why is our content failing. You have to understand why your content
Mm,
is not even working right now so that you can understand what you can do better. Okay, why is this content successful? How do we replicate that results across our other content pieces? Why is this content sitting in the silos? Where do we have
mm,
keyword cannibalization? How is it
mm,
affecting not just the content but the other content pieces, maybe in a ricochet effect or something like that. If you're
mhm,
not
mhm.
asking all these questions and you're just creating content off the top of your head, then you're not actually doing a great job with your content marketing.
Absolutely. And I'll just add to this to say there's no escaping this if you are listening and you haven't structured your content. You have to set out time and look back as far back as you can and do all these audits and do all this restructuring, and create a strategy around your existing content and make sure you follow all these very detailed steps that Chima had mentioned to make sure even internal linking and so on and so forth, to make sure that you have everything in place to cluster this and gain all the SEO juice you may have lost by spraying and praying in terms of writing content. I just wanted to say that's very, very, very important. A few execution ideas, Chima,
Mm,
just to explore with you.
mm,
Um, I don't want to mention tools here, but I will mention
okay.
Ahrefs. When you do keyword research on Ahrefs, you have keywords and you have topic. And I thought, that's a good idea because if you are thinking about clusters, then you have a tool that tells you what a keyword is and the topic it belongs to. But for
Yeah,
those who are
that's
using,
a great tool.
oh yeah, and I would like you to talk a little bit about that. Like,
Okay.
how
Tools
do
that
you know, not just tools, but how do
okay.
you know by just looking at the keyword? How do you know that a keyword is a topic? Is it
That's a good
because
one.
it's long tail? Or you mentioned something about search volume. Yes, that's
Mm,
one. But what are
mm-hmm.
some of the other things? Without any tool at all, how can I
Okay.
know that a keyword is a topic and a keyword is a keyword or a subtopic? You get what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So basically, yeah, the first thing is to think about keywords in topics. Don't just look at it as a
Okay.
keyword.
Yeah.
Look at the keyword as a topic. Every keyword, look at every keyword as a topic. They are the same
Mm,
thing. It just means that when you see a keyword and you think of a topic, then it allows you to think more holistically about the keyword. So the
mm.
first thing is that what you're trying to find is what keyword can we make
A
a
pillar.
yes, what keyword can we make into a cluster? Is this a keyword that we can make into a topic cluster? So the first thing is to identify keywords that have high search volume, because if it has a ton of
Mm,
search volume, that means that there'll be a lot of subtopics. You need to have, I want to see at least 10 subtopics supporting that main pillar page, or maybe even
noted.
5 or 6 or 7 years. There has to be subtopics. That tells you that, okay, the more subtopics, the more content you can create, the more education you can do, the more let's say the longer the buyer's journey is. So
Mhm.
the first thing is relevance. Is this keyword relevant to your product? Is it relevant to your service? Is it relevant to what you do? Is it going to help you sell more? That's the first question. If the
Mm,
answer is yes, then you can now look at search volume. What I usually do is that when I jump on a call with a new SaaS company,
Yeah.
and they have an idea of a solution that they're offering. I want to look at that solution on SEP to see if that solution has keyword volume. If it doesn't, I want to find the closest thing that has search volume that still aligns with the solution that they offer so that we can use that as our overarching topic to build a cluster.
Mhm.
So we look at search volume. Once we know search volume, we're looking at competitiveness. That tells you, oh, is this going to be too hard to rank for because people like HubSpot or Salesforce are ranking for those keywords? If you look at the top 10 people ranking for that keyword, and they're all websites that have like 2 million, 3 million search traffic, high domain authority, a
Yeah.
massive amount of backlinks, the chances of you, a smaller person, ranking for that keyword is very low. So I
Mhm.
would look for something that has less competition to build the cluster around because then we have a better chance of ranking for the keyword. They also want to look at the intent. What is your goal again? If your goal is to drive more leads, then you'll be looking at keywords that have commercial. You'll be looking to populate the cluster with keywords that have commercial intent. If your goal is to educate, then you'll be looking at keywords that have information. I usually like to do like a mix. I want a keyword that allows me to create informational content, commercial content, and transactional content. That's usually the
Yeah.
best type of cluster. And then
Love.
again, you're looking for opportunity for subtopics. So big keywords that have like 100K search volumes. Let's say, for example, the topic of SEO. If you go into
Mhm.
SEO, a subtopic like tech SEO is also its own cluster. If you go into content marketing, a subtopic like content strategy or content optimization is a subtopic that can also be its own cluster. Do you
Yeah.
understand? It's like CRM, customer relationship management. A subtopic like customer support is also a subtopic that can be its own cluster. So you want things that give you the opportunity to create subtopics, but also opportunities to turn those subtopics even into cluster. So these are things that I'm looking for. But I feel like the first thing is, what is the solution that is tied to the keyword? Does that have
Yeah.
a lot of search volume? Does that have a lot of subtopics? Does it give us the opportunity to create bottom, middle, and top of the funnel? How competitive is the keyword? If we have these answers, then I can use that to determine if this is a keyword that we can use as a topic cluster.
Yeah. If you're listening right now and you haven't subscribed, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to repurpose this episode and sell it to you as a course. So if you don't like that and you want to get this for free, please subscribe. What you just heard now is premium wisdom. And this is how we get it with all our guests. And when it comes to content clusters and demand generation and stuff like that, we are going cutting edge with this. And Chima, being a world expert at this, has given us step by step perspective on how to classify this and how to connect this to our business models and how we can execute it systematically, also at the level of detail that is required. So I just wanted us to mention that there. Now, back to the topic. And
Mm,
I want to ask a follow-up question.
mm,
It's a bit tricky, but I found it online, so I thought I would ask.
mm,
Autocomplete. Can I
mm.
determine subtopics through
Yeah.
autocomplete?
Yes, definitely. If you have like a big pillar, you can just if you just start typing the topic inside Google, autocomplete will start suggesting subtopics. Something that I think is really good is to
Mm,
install keywords everywhere. I think like $10 worth
okay.
of credits we get you like 3 or 6 months. I'm a big fan of that too because it integrates in search results. What that
What's the
means
name
is
of the
that
tool again?
keywords everywhere. So
Keywords
what that means
everywhere.
is that
Okay.
once you have that and you've installed it as a Chrome extension and you now type
Mm,
in a keyword, let's say you type in um scheduling software,
mm,
autocomplete will now start showing you all the subtopics, and then keywords everywhere will show you search volume attached to those subtopics. So right
yeah.
there, you can even start filtering out to see subtopics that have decent search volumes and subtopics that will not even be necessary to pursue. It kind of makes your job. It speeds up the process of filtering promising keywords and those that you shouldn't be going after.
I content everywhere is something that I just changed my PC, so I didn't know I didn't have it. But yeah, content everywhere is a great tool.
Sorry, it's
I've
not
used
content
it
everywhere.
for
It's keywords everywhere.
I'm sorry, keywords everywhere. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The one with the K logo.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I've been using it since 2017. So please, yeah, you should get that too. And it helps us to approach autocomplete in a much contained way compared to like the autocompletes themselves, where you can't really like copy as you're typing or whatever it is there. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Chima, you're a gift that keeps giving. But
Thank you.
so there's more. There's more to what I'm going to be asking you.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
mentioned internal linking before,
Yeah.
and I would like you to talk a little